Greetings to you, dear viewers. You are watching OBN Horn of Africa. This is a special edition program, and I'm Fantam Balete hosting the program. Today, I have very special guests with me today. We are going to talk about Ethiopia's assertion to seaports. My guests are Honorable Dr. Fatih Mahdi, Foreign Relations and Peace Affairs Standing Committee Vice Chairman, Honorable Ambassador Dina Mufti, Foreign Relations and Peace Affairs Standing Committee Member, Honorable Ambassador Dr. Tawfiq Abdullahi, Foreign Relations and Peace Affairs Standing Committee Member and also Chairman of Foreign Relations Subcommittee, Honorable Mr. Morga Ababulgu, Foreign Relations and Peace Affairs Standing Committee Member. Till the end of our program, stay with us. Would you please start by introducing yourself, and we'll come to the question.
Yeah, thank you. My name is, as you mentioned, Dr. Fatih Mahdi. I'm a member of Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, House of People's Representatives, 6th term, that is member of the Parliament, and also Vice Chairperson for Foreign Relations and the Peace Affairs Standing Committee. Thank you for having me in this program.
In his discussion, the Premier or Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed mentioned various alternative ports in the region. Why are most of the media and the commentators are trying to attach the issue to Eritrea?
Yeah, the Prime Minister has mentioned several times that Ethiopia needs access to seaport. But when he mentioned this, he mentioned several options from neighboring countries. Eritrea is not the sole focus of discussion in this matter. Somaliland, Djibouti, Sudan, Kenya, and other countries are options. He explained in detail the various options available in neighboring countries in detail. He was not only focusing on Eritrea, but some media and the commentators might have focused on Eritrea due to several reasons that we don't know, but I can guess if I see their view in optimistic way, in a positive way. They might focus on Eritrea maybe because Eritrea is very close to Ethiopia geographically, and it has a coastline across the Red Sea. And if we see the geography of Ethiopia, Ethiopia is only 40 kilometers away from Red Sea alongside the Eritrean border, only 40 kilometers away. So this close proximity might have necessitated the focus of the media and the commentators to focus on Eritrea. Another possible reason could be, I can suggest, is due to the recent developments of peace situation between the two countries. So higher officials and the diplomats at higher level have visited each country several times. Prime Minister Abiy traveled to Eritrea, and also President Isaias visited Ethiopia several times. And the peace situation between the two countries has been developing in the recent several years. Also, if you see, there was a conflict, as you remember, there was also a war between the two countries, but that has been restored because of the Prime Minister of Ethiopia. So now, if you see, telecommunication services have been restored. Infrastructures, transportation system, for example, if we see Ethiopian Airlines has flight to Eritrea and from Eritrea to Ethiopia, and the relation between the two countries is growing. So due to this reason, maybe that media and the commentators are focusing on Eritrea, but the case is different. We have to see all the options. Eritrea could be a very good possible option. And this fertile, good background may facilitate, may initiate discussion for mutual interest for the two countries. And this will lead to high potential for cooperation and collaboration between Ethiopia and Eritrea. So what our Prime Minister has explained is not only focusing on Eritrea. Ethiopia needs access to seaport in all possible options, whether Eritrea, Somaliland, or neighboring Sudan, or Kenya, or Djibouti, or any, which Ethiopia could administer by herself or by itself. So this is very important and critical, and our country will negotiate with all available options.
Honorable Ambassador Dina Mufti, Ethiopia's Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed recently raised the issue of Ethiopia's need for accessing seaports. Do you think Ethiopia has the right to raise such a question from just from international laws and experiences?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank the OBN team and the leadership of the House of the People's Representatives, especially the leaders of the Committee for Peace and Foreign Affairs, to organize such a forum. Well, as you have mentioned in your question, the Prime Minister's statement on the need of Ethiopia for the port is an issue that the time has come for. It's a timely issue. And it's obviously true that Ethiopia is one of the countries without a port. There are about plus 40 countries in the world without port, and about 14 countries in the Africa without port. Ethiopia is the most populous country of all these landlocked countries. So the need for port for Ethiopia and Ethiopia's right to access the sea is declared in the International Convention on the Sea by the United Nations. So Ethiopia has a right to access a port. Ethiopia has a right to use a port because it is economic growth. As long as it is economic growth, is import-export growth simultaneously. The need for boosting tourism and the international trade is out there. The need for investment, the need for transfer of technology is out there. These all needs of the nation, socio-economic needs of the nation, require support. So international access is justified by the International Convention, and the International Convention gives Ethiopia a right to access the sea because it's landlocked countries. In fact, the modalities and the details of implementation is to be agreed with agreements of the transit countries. Because Ethiopia, as had been mentioned earlier by Honorable Dr. Feti, there are neighboring countries. All Ethiopian neighboring countries have ports. So these are countries of transit when it comes to use the port. So the transit countries can make an agreement with Ethiopia, and on the basis of that agreement, the modalities of implementation can be worked out and the port usage can come. International convention is general. It gives a general agreement, a general right to access the sea. Otherwise, the details of implementations could be agreed with the transit countries. All transit countries are the countries we have mentioned, all have ports. We have a typical agreement with Djibouti. Now we are using Djibouti port. We can do the same with other transit countries. That means with Kenya, with Somalia, with Eritrea, both Sudanese. Therefore, the need for a port and the right to use a port is given in international convention. Ethiopia has a right, and there is no doubt about it. The only difference is that that right is general. It's given in general terms. The modalities of implementations will be decided by the agreements with each country. This will be agreed on the basis of helping Ethiopia to use those transit countries without tax, without duties, without any payments. And we can use all sorts of transportations, be it land or seas or air. And the transit countries have also a right not to be infringed on their right, actually. Otherwise, there is a right to use the port, and there is no doubt about it.
Honorable Ambassador Dr.
Tawfiq Abdullahi Ahmed. I am member of the Standing Committee of Peace, Foreign Relations and Peace Standing Committee. I welcome you also and have the same impression as my friend, Honorable Ambassador Dina said. So I have the same impression and gratitude for OBN and its services.
Thank you. Following the Premier's or Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed's discussion of the seaport access issue, various media institutions and regional commentators are speculating various things, including the likely scenario of war between Eritrea and Ethiopia. In your view, is there any call for war between the two countries in the Premier's discussion?
First and foremost, the call had been repeatedly delivered by the Premier Minister on different stances, both in the Parliament and also in his recent or last briefing to the Parliament. There is no point, or there is no clue that there is an intention from the Ethiopia side to claim this or to justify our need for access for the port otherwise than peace. It's on a mutual understanding and common understanding, support each other. And I can't understand it, why people are speculating on this. His call was that, we have a large country with huge population, and there is tremendous and consistent economical growth. But we have to match this with the population growth, and we have to Ethiopia needs an outlet, a sea outlet. And we will want to start this discussion among our people and with our neighboring countries as well, because this is the step forward for the country. So, and he emphasized also, that in no way there is an opportunity or an option that we want to settle this with conflict or with armed force. So I can't understand why people are speculating on this. Of course, the media are focusing this variant because they want to public audience, because people are interested, more interested when there are news on conflicts and challenges. So this is the only point. Otherwise, it never came out that Ethiopia has an intention of forcing this to be accepted.
Honorable Mr. Mogga Babulgu, I have come to you. In your view, what benefits will neighboring countries get if they provide their seaports to Ethiopia through give and take principle?
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Mogga Babulgu. I'm a member of the Foreign and Peace Affairs Relation Committee. And by granting the seaport to Ethiopia, neighboring countries could get many benefits. And one, they will exercise, there will be an economic benefit because there will be movement of goods and services from and into the country. And as a result, there will be increased trade, there will be expansion of trade, there will be job opportunity, there will be increase in imports and exports, and these all will contribute to the economic development of that country. And as a result, the neighboring countries per capita income will increase. The other is solidarity and cooperation. If there is a solidarity and cooperation between the countries, then it will create a sense of unity. And this in turn will create peace, sustainable peace across the region. This is also one benefit. The third is the international investors and the regional investors will be attracted to the region because there is a port, there is a trade, there is peace, and these all will contribute to the attraction of investors to the region. The other benefit can be collaboration of the energy. Ethiopia has huge hydroelectric power and other renewable energies, and by collaboration, the two countries can use and benefit for the development of their economy. The other point is that it will attract tourists to the area. And this will contribute to the economy of the country, that country. The other, it may increase infrastructure. The infrastructure may be increased. Infrastructural development across the border and in between the countries. In general, by granting rail port to Ethiopia, the neighboring countries benefit, there is economic benefit, and also there will be sustainable peace across the border and between the countries, and specifically to that country as a whole.
Dear viewers, you are watching OBN Horn of Africa Special Edition program. Stay tuned. From global experience, several landlocked have got access to seaports through give and take principle. What makes Ethiopia's case different if it raises such a question?
Yeah, Ethiopia, if it raises this question, it is not different from other international experiences. For example, if you see several landlocked countries were able to gain access to seaport from their neighboring region or countries. So history shows us this. For example, if you see the agreement between Jordan and Saudi Arabia, which was carried out in 1965, Jordan provided a fertile land to Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia provided access to seaport. So this was one of successful access gained by a landlocked country. It can be taken as an example. Another experience can be between the agreement made between Bolivia and Chile in 2019. There is also another agreement conducted between Mongolia, which is one of the largest landlocked country in the world. It's also made agreement with China in 2015. Also Nepal with India, and Nepal also did another agreement with China in 2019. So this, the list goes on. In Africa also, South Africa with Lesotho, I think. So the international experience has created a favorable environment, especially the United Nations Convention, as my colleague Ambassador Dina Mufti has already mentioned. There is the United Nations International Convention on the use of sea, the law of the sea, which was formulated in 1982 in Jamaica, and it has been signed by more than 160 countries. So all these parties have agreed on this convention. So this convention states that countries which are landlocked can gain access to seaport from their neighboring countries. For example, if you see Article 69 of the convention, it specifically addresses the needs, the rights, the duties and responsibilities of landlocked countries when dealing with neighboring regions to access these seaports. So this doesn't make Ethiopia different. So Ethiopia is currently one of the fastest populous growing with high rate of population and a significant economic increment and diversity of industries. So the need for seaport is normal. It has been carried out by many countries, as I have already mentioned, because Ethiopia is currently is heavily relying on neighboring country for accessing port, and this has a lot of problems it created in its economy. Transportation costs, delays in movement of goods, and other several problems which I will mention later. So to overcome these problems, it's time now for Ethiopia to raise this issue by looking at international legal frameworks and by engaging in diplomacy with neighboring countries in a peaceful manner. This claim is normal, it's appropriate, it's legal, and Ethiopia will go for diplomatic ways to find diplomatic relations with the neighboring countries. So Ethiopia can raise this question, and it's normal according to the international law.
Honorable Ambassador Dina Mufti, in your view, what opportunities has Ethiopia got to gain seaports access through peaceful means from its neighbors?
Thank you very much. Well, Ethiopia has immense opportunities to gain an access to the seaport. There are various opportunities. There are economic means, there is political means as well, and diplomatic means. And As you know, Ethiopia has a lot to offer. It is the second largest populous country in Africa. It has a lot to offer in terms of population services to the neighboring countries. We have a lot of Ethiopians, knowledgeable Ethiopians who are serving the neighboring countries. This is an opportunity for cooperation with the neighboring countries. It is also a country that has one of the best airlines in the world. And we can share the benefit of these airlines as well with the neighboring countries. We have the largest dam under construction. This dam would be able to supply energy, healthy, environmentally healthy energy to the neighboring countries, and cheap energy to the neighboring countries. This is also an opportunity. You know, as you know, international relation is about giving and taking. You give and take. And Ethiopia can offer a lot to its neighbors, so that the neighbors can offer Ethiopia also some other things. We offer them whatever we have agricultural resources. This is a huge agricultural country. As you know, Ethiopia has the largest cattle population in the world, in Africa. And there is a lot of cattle production that goes to the neighboring countries. And this is an opportunity as well. So an opportunity of giving and taking makes appropriate situations or creates proper conducive atmosphere for accessing whatever the neighboring countries have. Now in this case, we are looking for a port service and access to the port. And we would like to boost our trade. We would like to boost our interactions with the neighboring countries, populations. As you know, with the neighboring countries, we are not only intending to have only ports. There is a long-term vision of creating integrations with the neighboring countries. That is why we have an IGAD. IGAD is also a means, is one of the regional blocks that will create a conducive atmosphere for integrations of Africa. During the foundations of the African Union in 1963, the founding fathers have been looking, some of them were looking for immediate integration of African countries. There are some who actually propagated for creating United States of Africa. But the best option that has been considered and being implemented is integrating Africa gradually through economic communities like the one we have created here. That is, we have IGAD here. We have ECOWAS for West African countries to integrate gradually. We have SADC for Southern African countries. There is also a kind of group for Maghreb countries. This means IGAD itself is an opportunity. An opportunity because as long as the IGAD countries are integrated economically, as long as they are integrated socially and culturally, definitely they will go for benefiting each other with giving and taking. So there is a lot that we can give through IGAD framework on bilateral basis. There is a lot that we can offer with these neighboring countries. And on the basis of this give and take, on win approach, definitely we'll have it. If, unfortunately, God forbid, if the neighboring countries want to offer as a port, there are a lot of difficulties that they are going to face. We must be alerted to it as well. If there is a problem, God forbid, in Ethiopia, if there is crisis, economic crisis, if there is suffocations, if there is no access to the port, there will be a pressure on the neighboring countries. A piece of one of the neighboring countries is a piece for another. That is why there are opportunities, wide opportunities. The progress, the prosperity of Ethiopia is the prosperity of all neighboring countries, and the vice versa is true. So therefore, opportunities are immense.
Honorable Ambassador Dr. Tawfiq Abdullahi, the Eritrean President Isaias Afwerki himself asserted that Eritrean ports are open for Ethiopia. Given that, do you feel that there will be genuine reason to expect war between the two countries?
Before that, I would like to convey or share my views. You know, Ethiopia has been participating in hosting, in promoting cooperation among the African neighboring countries. among which you know that we have deployed our peacekeeping forces in Somalia, in Sudan, and elsewhere in Africa. Second thing, we have been sharing, you know, common economical support. For example, we share electricity to Kenya, to Uganda, of course, it is on the process, to Sudan, and South Sudan is also expecting. Third, you know, we have Djibouti is getting tap water, fresh water from Ethiopia. So, you know, there is enormous cooperation with immediate adjacent neighboring countries. Apart from that, the coexistence between Ethiopia and its neighboring countries is at the prior agenda of the foreign policy of Ethiopia. So, taking this into account, the no war, no peace status with Eritrea was resolved in 2019 since the reform. So it's not strange that Eritrea is also offering that we can use their ports amicably. So there is no way that Ethiopia is trying to challenge any countries to access port. Not only that, why did this issue was raised on the Prime Minister's response on last Tuesday, which is on 14th of November. So this is, you know, to create, to promote, to synthesize the people to discuss on this issue, that Ethiopia is willing, not is willing, but opting to use neighboring countries' ports to the benefit of all, mutual benefit, you know, give and take principles. So in his delivery, he said that, you know, he has raised this issue with the presidents of the neighboring countries time and again. But this was the only time that he made it public. So you could see the response that it needs clarification. So that's why you are also interviewing us, because we have to come into a situation that things are very clear to us, to prepare the ground for the next step. So not only Eritrea, but Djibouti and others are also and will be willing to cooperate in this respect. This is my notion, and it's timely. Otherwise, you know, there is no quick fix. You have to work it. You have to lay the ground suitable, very much amicable, and achievable. And you know, the reaction and the response from the public is so much diverse. Some claiming that Ethiopia is preparing to wage a war, groundless, but things will clear up as we go. So this is the intention, to say, you know, you should to create awareness among the public of the region. This is the most important, and it is based on mutual benefit. It's based on, you know, give and take principle, and no intention of confrontation militarily. This should be very clear, and Ethiopia has committed itself more, and it should not be strange that Ethiopia is asking, requesting for such an offer.
Thank you. So you concluded that there will be no reason for expecting war between the countries.
There should be no space for military confrontation.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. We want to reassure, the Premier Minister was also wanted to reassure this. He has reassured it to the leaders, but we want to make it public. And, you know, we should have a common understanding. We should clarify the misunderstandings, the gossips, and, you know, the panics which are created because of the media and the suspicion. So this is groundless, but people will not take it immediately. It should sink into their minds. But we have to do this, especially the media have a bigger role in promoting this.
Honorable Mr. Mogga Babulgu, let you answer this question. Some regional commentators are claiming that Ethiopia's access to seaport will significantly contribute to sustainable peace and stability in the Horn of Africa. What's your comment on this?
It is correct. This is directly related to the peace and the stability of the Horn of Africa. It is clear that Ethiopia is in the Horn. At the same time, we are landlocked. At the same time, we are a country with large number of population. And this large number of population, we have to create a job opportunity for this large number of people. We have to achieve economic development as per the growing population of the country. If not, there will be a problem not only for Ethiopia, including for the neighboring countries, because there might be a migration. If there is no job opportunity, if there is economic development, if there is problem related to this, there might be a migration to the neighboring country and so on as well. So, the port gives great opportunity for us. If there is a port, we have potentials related to this which could benefit to the economic development of the country, and we shall create job opportunity. The economic development will be achieved. The livelihood of the citizens will be improved. Then there will be a stable living condition, and this will contribute to the peace and the stability of our country, the region, the surrounding countries, neighboring countries, and to the whole Horn of Africa as well. Therefore, the matter of port is not simply a luxury. It is a matter of existence for Ethiopia, because I have said much on that. It is related to our job creation and the whole economic development of the country. If not, there might be a problem. If not, there might be even a conflict due to absence of job opportunity related to the growing number of people. Therefore, if there is a port, there will be opportunity for job, there will be economic growth for us, there will be improvement in livelihood of the nation, the citizen, and as a whole, this will contribute to the peaceful condition of the whole Horn of Africa.
Evidences are coming up that landlocked countries tend to be 20% less developed than they would be if they had access to seaports. This is partially due to the cost of trade, with transportation costs being between 50% to 262%. This is higher for landlocked countries. From this aspect, how do you see the Ethiopian situation?
Yeah, it's true that due to lack of access to seaport, or a country, being a country which is landlocked, has disadvantage by itself, okay? Especially when it comes to trade and economic development. It has a very negative impact, as you have already mentioned. Almost about 20% less growth than other countries which have coastal lines or access to sea. So Ethiopia is currently a landlocked country, and as my colleagues already mentioned, it is a suffocated country due to lack of access to seaport, and we need a point to breathe out. So currently Ethiopia is facing a lot of challenges, especially access to international markets is very limited due to lack of access to seaport. Transportation costs, as you have already mentioned, is very high, especially compared to other countries. Landlocked countries pay additional 50 to 262% additional costs because of lack of access. This creates competitive disadvantage, because products moving in and out of the country, that is import and export goods, will incur additional costs due to high rates of transportation cost. So This creates competitive disadvantage for Ethiopia for the country's export products and import products. Also, there is logistic delays, very great logistic delay in the country. Also, delays in movement of goods. Also, delays in border cross-checking. Also, custom formalities are there, which affect the movement of products. Also, bureaucratic procedures are there. So these all things create problem currently for Ethiopia because it is landlocked and is heavily relying on a neighboring port because the port is not managed and administered by Ethiopia. So Ethiopia's growing demand, growing population, growing economy demands high and huge, efficient, modern ports, which my neighboring country is not providing country, I don't know. So Ethiopia needs a port that is modern, that is in line with its economic growth, with population growth, and that can feed Ethiopia to international market, both import and export of products. So in overall, trade efficiencies are hindered for Ethiopia. Ethiopia's trade is not very efficient now due to the problems that I have already mentioned. So this discourages international investors to come to this region. It limits export opportunities. It also hinders in total economic diversification. So being a landlocked country has several disadvantages. And all over the world, as I have already mentioned as an example in our previous episode, many countries which are landlocked have tried to get access to seaport in a peaceful way, as my colleagues have already mentioned, without war, without firing a single bullet, as the Prime Minister has already mentioned, in a mutually win-win benefit. So the nation's overall development and economic growth will come into play. So economic development is very important. Overall growth is important for Ethiopia. Sustainable development is important. The population requires a lot to prosper. The seaport is critical and it's mandatory. And it has impact in overall economic growth, as you have already mentioned. Almost about 20% we are back from other countries. So to gain this is international study conducted. Countries which have access to seaport are more advantageous in economic growth, 20% more higher. So this is a matter of discussion and diplomacy and collaboration, mutual benefit between the neighboring countries. And if we do this, hopefully Ethiopia will have this access to seaport in the next few, I don't know the time, but in the next few maybe years, I can say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ambassador Dina, with an annual output of USD 127 billion, Ethiopia is already Eastern Africa's biggest economy, but with lots of low-hanging opportunities for even bigger trade-driven output. So how imperative will it be for Ethiopia to get reliable seaport access?
As you know very well, Ethiopia is in the process of the reform. This reform is whole-rounded. It includes political, economic, social, cultural, and diplomatic sectors to be reformed. And one of the sectors that has been very much impacted, that has been showing a lot of progress is the economic sector. Due to the reform, the economic sector is moving very encouraging, showing very encouraging progress. You have mentioned it actually. It's one of the fastest growing economy in the region, with its most populous populations, is one of the most populous country also of the region. There is a dynamism in agricultural sector, manufacturing sector, and other sectors as well. That is why that level of delivery had been registered. This indicates the need, this assures, this actually ascertains the fact that Ethiopia needs support if it is growing at such a level. So Ethiopia's growth is also in the interest of the neighboring countries, in the interest of other regions, because it boosts trade as well. With this gigantic economic growth, there is gigantic import-export. In fact, we are working on import substitution as well, by way of actually encouraging export. So for that we need a port, and the need for a port is obvious, is out there. In fact, to sum it up, as have been definitely explained in a very expressive way by my colleagues, Ethiopia is going to get this port peacefully. It's going to get it through diplomatic means. It's going to get it through give and take process, and there is no need for resorting to any sort of conflict. Ethiopia is actually a country that is committed to regional integration. There is no reason for Ethiopia to go to any war, because the war is destructive. If a country has witnessed destruction of war, the unproductivity of the war, Ethiopia is one, because we have seen a lot and we lost a lot, and we should learn from it. And there is no need for a war, and leave alone for going to another war. We are overcoming all the wars that we have been through so far through peaceful dialogue. And therefore, there is no any urge, there is no any interest, there is no any intention for a war with the neighboring countries to gain these ports. We want our economy to grow, our socio-economic fabrics to be reformed. We want to democratize our nations. And if you are interested in this, the war is destructive and we don't need a war. Thank you.
Honorable Ambassador Dr. Tawfik, Ethiopia has several options for peaceful access to the sea. All of them could have positive economic impact, not only in Ethiopia, but across the region. So why is the issue of war becoming the lead stories of several media?
Thank you. As I previously mentioned, this is groundless. That Ethiopia is contemplating army confrontation with its neighbor to have access to the seaport. And the history of Ethiopia doesn't reflect this. Ethiopia has never waged a war against a country. It has always been in self-defense only. Second thing is, in economical growth, as I said, the foreign policy of the Ethiopian government, especially after the reform, is that to have a harmony and peaceful coexistence with neighboring countries and mutual economical sustainable development. Previously I mentioned that we have shared many things. Among them, even the green legacy. We have extended, the plantation of the 3 seeds into neighboring countries in good faith, with all the expenses covered by the Ethiopian government. So, we are at the forefront that we want to promote the unity and togetherness of the Horn of African countries. And there is, in his speech, in his delivery, in his explanation, the Prime Minister insisted that, people are misunderstanding or miscontemplating that Ethiopia is preparing for waging war or wanted to have access, port access forcibly. There is no ground for it. And this is not a trend of Ethiopia. Apart from that, it shows that, on the contrary, that Ethiopia has been waging or asserting on the unification, regional integration of the Horn of Africa, including, the institutions, starting from IGAD, COMESA, and East African development institutions. So I see no point. So the media are contemplating on this or speculating on this because they have to gain audience, more audience, and people are so much interested in following such events, such topics. Otherwise, this is groundless, and I am very confident that we will abide by our promises.
Honorable Mr. Mogga, Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed said Ethiopia's right for seaport access is not a political party affair. It is a sovereignty issue that concerns all citizens. So what should political and non-political actors in Ethiopia do to succeed this national interest?
Actually, that was an excellent message from the Prime Minister. The matter of seaport is not a political affair. It is a matter of sovereignty and the national interest of Ethiopia. If Ethiopia gets seaport, it is not the ruling party or other parties that will benefit. It benefits the whole citizen of the country. So we have to have all parties, political parties, and the citizens should have the same stand on these issues. We have to work together to get seaport. It shouldn't be connected to political condition. Political parties may have different opinions, but we have a country in common. We have to defend our national interest. We have to work for our coming generation. Our economy should be increased. We have to create job opportunity. So we have to have the same stand on these areas related to the sovereignty of the country as well as to the national interest of the country. So we have to come together, communicate, and have the same idea and stand to have this seaport for our country. The next thing I want to express is Ethiopia is a landlocked, as we say. There is around 126 million number of population in our country. By projection in 2050, it is expected to be projected around 350 million. This will be a very huge number of population. We have to solve this problem. To solve the problem, we have to get the port. So we have to work together for that, and the political parties should have the same stand and work for that matter.
Since a couple of years, Ethiopia is trying to use alternative seaports in the region, including those in Kenya and in Somaliland. But most of these ports lack infrastructure, like roads, petrol stations, service and repair stops. These are to support huge logistics. So what if these neighboring countries co-develop the ports with Ethiopia and use them in a mutually beneficial way?
Yeah, actually there is a possibility for neighboring countries to co-develop a port together with Ethiopia. There is a possibility, and this will benefit both countries a lot. It's a mutual benefit, as I have already mentioned. So it will have mutually beneficial gains for both countries. First and foremost for Ethiopia, as I have already mentioned, the Ethiopian problem related with maritime and the ports that I have already mentioned, all will be solved. If not all, the problems will be minimized, and Ethiopia will gain economic advantage by co-building port with neighboring countries. So all the problems that we have mentioned, transportation cost, delays in products, lack of competitive advantage, all other problems that I have mentioned will be at least minimized or will be solved, and problems will be addressed for Ethiopia. For the neighboring countries, there will be a lot of gains if they co-build port with Ethiopia. So potential neighboring countries might gain, for example, they will have improved trade facilitation. This is one advantage. The other one is it will enhance their role as a trade hub. So they will become, the neighboring country which is working with Ethiopia will become a trade hub. The other one is additional revenue. That country will get additional revenue. That's very important. For example, the Prime Minister mentioned in his explanation or speech, both at the Parliament or in another session, previous session for members of the Parliament, which has been transmitted in all medias. The Prime Minister expressed that, for example, the neighboring countries, they can take a share. My colleagues have already also mentioned Ethiopian Airlines is one of the best in the world, #1 in Africa. It's fastest growing. So they can have a share from that. So neighboring countries, they can enjoy, they can have access to Ethiopia's valuable assets. For example, as I have already mentioned, Saudi Arabia and Jordan, they have exchanged land. The same can apply to us. Ethiopia has a lot of fertile lands. So Ethiopia can give fertile land to any neighboring country based on appropriateness, based on assessment and study and the negotiation and the diplomatic relations. They can have share in Ethiopian Telecom, one of the largest in Africa, with more than 70 million subscribers, and is fastly growing. So the Prime Minister also mentioned that neighboring countries, they can buy a share from this. They can have access to our power. Ethiopia is the power roof of Africa. Now we have energy. The great Renaissance Dam is producing a lot of energy now, and we have been providing electricity to neighboring countries already. It's practical. So they can have energy from Ethiopia. So all this will be additional revenue for the neighboring country. Another thing is that it will attract investors. Okay, it promotes economic integration and regional stability and overall cooperation among nations. So there is a lot of profit that I cannot list here if neighboring countries co-build port together with Ethiopia as an option. So they can get a lot of, they can enjoy a lot of valuable capital assets of Ethiopia. And I hope sooner will be diplomatic relations. Thank you.
Ethiopia has several options for accessing seaports. Those have positive economic impacts, not only in Ethiopia, but across the region. So what should leaders of the region do to mutually benefit from this opportunity?
Yeah, if any neighboring country is willing to engage with Ethiopia on issues of access to seaport for Ethiopia, the leaders, both Ethiopian leaders and any neighboring country leaders, can do a lot for mutual benefit. They should consider several actions. One possible area of focus should be, they should focus on regional integration and collaboration. So this is the first important and the critical thing is regional coordination. What do we mean by this is cooperation and dialogue for mutually beneficial measures. Cooperation and dialogue for mutually beneficial measures. Another one is they can engage in bilateral and multilateral cooperation, which focuses on infrastructure development, trade facilitation, and the regional integration initiatives. So these are some of the pointers that leaders can engage. Another point is joint investment. They can invest jointly on infrastructure such as roads, railways, pipelines, and other things. They can also work in issues such as developing special economic zones. These special economic zones, they can attract foreign direct investment. They can diversify products and industries. Another one is they can work on streamlining customs and the trade procedures. These customs and trade procedures facilitate, enhance, and improve movement of products between the two countries, import and export products. They can also work on conflict resolution mechanisms. So if there are any disruption, if there is any potential conflict that disrupts this regional cooperation and coordination, they should find international maybe or regional legal frameworks that stops or minimizes conflicts, potential conflicts. So there are a lot of several actions that I cannot mention and finish here that regional leaders should involve, should consider for the mutual benefit of the countries, both countries, as we have mentioned. It is a win-win scenario, give and take principle. So to engage in this, the first thing is to give priority for negotiation and diplomacy also. As already mentioned, bilateral and multilateral discussions should go, but the focus should be on infrastructure development that benefits both countries. Thank you.
Have you got any final message before we end this session?
Well, my message is actually, this is about alerting the society. This is about creating the entire populations. It's not only the responsibility of the Ethiopian government, or it's not only the responsibility of the leadership to get this further access to the sea. It is the responsibility of the entire society. It is the responsibility of anyone who is interested in the prosperity and growth of this country. It is the responsibility of all nationals, all citizens, and even friends of Ethiopia. So you media have the responsibility, the civil society has the responsibility, the academic institutions, the parliamentarians, they are doing it here. It's a marvelous thing. They are doing a lot of things here. We should create awareness. As have been explained earlier by my colleagues, it's not a project that we want to do it overnight. It's something that needs a process. It needs a time. It needs a dialogue. It needs an engagement. But we need to reflect on it. It's not a subject that we shy away from it. And this is a subject that we should deal with it. You media guys also have a responsibility. Keep on telling the people, keep on agitating the people, mobilizing the people for this purpose. I'm not saying, when I say mobilization, I don't mean mobilization for war, for confrontation. Mobilization for peaceful engagement with the neighboring countries, with creating friendship, harmony, and above all, creating unity and harmony within the country, within ourselves. The fabrics should be peaceful. We should create peace, and we should unite, and hand in hand, definitely we can win the sea and access to the port. Thank you.
I would like to express my gratitude to OBN and wish you success, because such effort, because this is a young media, but striving to accomplish many things. And latecomers are always at advantage also, because you can use new technologies and so on. But devotion is more important. And at least you are transmitting your programs in various local languages, which is very much positive. And I hope we will see you on more stages. Yeah.
The great message that should be informed to everybody else, to our community. Our community should be informed very well. There should be the same stand. We have to also the same stand with the community. And the role of the media is very important. OBN and other media should work on this. We have to communicate much. The community should come to one stand and fight for that, to get the port. Therefore, the media should work for that. The media should work for that, and thank you, the OBN, for the thank you.
I have some remarks. The first one is that the Ethiopian government, through its Prime Minister, has already stated the needs of Ethiopia, the challenges, the problems, the reasons behind claiming, as we have already discussed in this also, we have justifiable, reasonable background to claim for access to Red Sea. So we claim, the Prime Minister has already claimed. What I suggest is that the neighboring countries should utilize this opportunity. The opportunities that so far we have explained. They can enjoy the valuable assets of, capital assets of Ethiopia. A lot of options are there. When we request for access to seaport, we are offering something. So this offer might attract these neighboring countries, and they should come immediately to dialogue whenever appropriate, as it will be initiated by our government or any appropriate agency, especially the Ethiopian government will initiate this diplomatic relation, and they should come with peaceful heart, with positive mind, with optimistic view to work and cooperate with Ethiopia, and they should make themselves ready for this. This is my message. And they should come to the table and see all possible. Dialogue is important, dialogue is important, discussion is important. So they should prepare themselves for this dialogue and diplomatic discussions. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your precious time.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
You are welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Dear our esteemed viewers, we have finished our discussion. Thank you for watching.